Do you think we're going to be able to get through this without any technical difficulties?
No.
No, probably not. We're going to try to.
We're going to have Vivo difficulties, though, because he wants to join. He wants to play.
Yeah.
He wants to visit Bonbon, and he's not allowed to visit Bonbon.
And we're having Q&A redux, aren't we?
Yeah, we're gonna redo. We're gonna just repeat everything we said last time, word for word. It'll be the exact same episode, right?
I guess if we could somehow recover that material, it ended up being like a completely different episode.
Yeah, the thing that didn't record.
Yeah, I'm sure we're gonna say things differently.
I think it'll be exactly the same.
I doubt it. All right, so it is officially the Q&A episode, and for you guys, it'll be the first time hearing this.
Yeah, we've heard it all before, so who knows what we said last time? Maybe all of our answers are totally different.
So our good friend John McCurry in Arizona has a question, toss and fetch specific. He wants to know, how do you adjust your game and style to individual dogs? So specifically, do you adjust the throw to fit the dog? Or do you think it's more important to focus on your throw and what works for you, and then try to teach the dog to adjust? So what is it? There's obviously a lot of different ways you can do this. And for me, I tend to focus on my throw and then rely on a lot of repetition and things like that for my dogs to be able to learn how my throws look and how to catch them. So I pretty much throw exactly the same for every single dog, and my throws pretty much look the same when you're watching me, whether I'm warming up or throwing for different dogs. They pretty much always look the same. I rarely do much adjustment during a round for a specific dog or anything like that. I kind of want them to learn how to catch, because if they can catch my throws however I throw them best, that's going to be better for my team. I know you're a little different.
Yeah, I'm definitely different. I would say I adjust a lot more, but I wouldn't say I adjust completely 100%. I mean, because there's a point where the throw is no longer very good anymore. That the dog might catch it every time, but if you have to adjust too much, then the throw's not good anymore. But I do adjust a bit for the dogs, and part of that is like, my example is Torch. If I never adjusted my throw to exactly what he wanted, he never would have been any good of a toss and fetch dog, because there was just one kind of throw that he was going to catch. And when I threw it like that, he caught it like 95% of the time. And he was amazing. As long as I threw it straight down the middle, really high, and the disc fell exactly flat, no angle on it whatsoever. So I really trained myself into throwing that way, just because that's what Torch wanted. Luckily, it worked out for Sora pretty well. Sora probably prefers a little bit more angle on it, so I think I've adjusted my throw a little bit for her. I tend to probably train my throw to be exactly what my top toss and fetch dog's throw is geared towards. So like, I don't really change my throw that much for Flair. I mean, I try to throw what she likes, but Flair's really challenging because she's very inconsistent. So there's not like one particular exact throw that works. A lot of it with Flair's timing, I mean, it's more complex. And then even when I get all of the stars aligned with Flair, she's still only like 65% catch ratio. So it's like, for me, if I throw it exactly how Sora wants it, she's going to catch it 95% of the time, and she's going to be really, really good. So, for me, I tend to throw how my best dog wants it thrown, and then I'll make a little bit of adjustment to the other dogs. But, it kind of depends on the dogs that I have. I mean, I started with Sketch, who pretty much caught anything, so I could have done whatever I wanted with him. But, I mean, as my, dogs in their prime change, then I kind of shift my throw to whatever works best for them. And I do tend to try to throw the same disc if possible. But of course, I mean, Flair plays with the little discs and Sora and Link play with the bigger discs. So there's always a little bit of a difference there.
And I had something to add. My methodology for throwing came about with Enzo. who was my first really good disc dog, and he had a lot of problems in toss and fetch. I mean, maybe 50% catch ratio early on. He really struggled a lot, and he would do every combination of everything. He would get too excited for it. He would always not necessarily jump early, but he could. He would just jump wild and things like that. And he was just a little bit too over the top. So I just started experimenting, and I realized, well, if I throw it high enough, he could just sit there and try to jump all he wants, and it's not going to do him any good. So I started throwing really high to him, and that completely changed our success. And he got to where when I was at the World Championships, I expected him to catch everything, and he did. It was very unusual for him to miss something at World Championships. So we always placed really high, and it required a lot of concentration on my part, and I didn't throw as good as I do now. Now it'd be much easier for me to throw for him, but that was where my methodology came from. So if you watch me throwing, generally I throw pretty high. And of course, it's going to depend on wind conditions and who knows what else. If it's downhill, uphill, if you're you know, which dog maybe to some degree, which disc I'm throwing. But I just have this overall idea in my mind that I want to get the disc up high enough, because if I do that and it's stable and it comes down nice, the dogs will always have a chance to catch it. So that's why
I mean, if it's in the ground, then it can't really be caught, right?
They don't even have a chance. So I feel like my throws always give the dogs a chance to catch. At least I try to do that. Every once in a while I shank them. But,
yeah, I mean, I don't recommend throwing like really low. Like some dogs that are pre-jumpers, I mean, I laughed one time when somebody said, you know, like, why do you throw high and then tell Torch to wait? Because if you've seen a round of Torch's toss and fetch, it's me throwing really high and then running down the field yelling wait. And I did actually test that, by the way. He listened when I said wait. When he didn't wait, the rate of pre-jumping was higher. So it wasn't just like just because I wanted to run down the field. I didn't want to do that, but he needed a little more direction, and he did listen to me most of the time. But it just cracked me up. Somebody said, well, why don't you just throw it low for him and then he doesn't have to wait? And I'm like, well, one, the chances of throwing a worm burner and it like going straight into the ground are way more likely.
Yes.
And even if he does catch up to it and catch it, which Torch is super fast in his prime, so he caught a lot of stuff that was low. He would do a big old run out, and I don't care how hard of a stop and turn your dog has, they're gonna do a little bit of a victory lap. It's impossible not to. If they're sprinting to catch the disc, they can't just suddenly stop and then turn around. They have to do a victory lap, and that eats up time.
Yeah, and the advice that I hear thrown out all the time, I just get so sick of hearing it, is keep it out in front of them. And what that means to people is just throw a line drive, low throw that's right in front of their nose that they can't, in theory, screw up. And then half of the time you do that, you're going to throw it into the ground. Your dog's going to be going a million miles an hour, running out there. You're going to have to worry about them tumbling and hurting themselves, burning their pads, all of this stuff.
I mean, keeping it out in front of them is okay, but that doesn't. You don't need to throw it low to do that.
What they're suggesting though is out in front of their face, low. They don't want you to throw it high like I do.
A good dog should, ideally, if you throw it high, the dog slows down and tracks in a perfect world.
And these dogs that are doing this, the person isn't throwing it behind the dog. It's not that. It's that it's up above them, and then they're pre-jumping and doing things like that. So they're saying keep it out in front of them. They're telling them to keep it lower and right in front of their nose.
It's actually a bad, in my opinion, a bad training. Like
yes,
and a lot of people do this in the beginning because they have a young dog, they don't want it to jump, but then they throw all these low throws low out in front of them, and the dog learns to not track, not collect, not control their speed.
Absolutely.
And not watch the disc.
And the same thing with rollers. You do too much rollers like that, you're going to have a dog that just runs like an idiot and doesn't even think about looking up. They just go head down, no thinking. We don't want that.
Yep. All right. Well, we got a lot of questions, so we better jump on to the next one.
Okay, next question is from Matt. He wants to know fashion tips. We got a lot.
Oh, man. Well, Matt, I mean, we need to get you a wig or a full head of hair, or we could take on the beard. And I mean, I've got the pink hair dye. That's my fashion tip. I think the colored hair is a thing.
Well, I'm going to go on a more serious note and go with uh, what I used to do, especially back in the day, which was I started using a lot of yellow. And what happened was I was throwing yellow discs to Enzo, and it's because he saw yellow better. I just happened to be wearing some stuff that had yellow on it this particular day, which was at a freestyle jam camp, which had the human freestylers helping the disc doggers with throwing and then choreography and all that kind of stuff. And I went out there and did my routine, and they critiqued it. And then whenever I came off, I forget who it was, but she told me that like the number one thing she loved was my color coordination. And I looked, I was like, yeah,
Yeah, like you had that all planned.
I was thinking, wow, this I got lucky on that one. But then it just clicked. I'm like, this makes a lot of sense to have some sort of color coordination. Your clothes with your discs. Your dog can have a bandana or a vest or something that matches you, and especially in pairs with what we do, we always match. We always wear the same shirt. We always have the same.
Or you can, dye your hair to match your dog. So,
Yeah.
if you got a red dog, red hair.
We're back to that. So I think, Matt, the answer is you have to dye everything pink.
Yeah. And then wear pink. No, that's actually, there is something to that coordination. I think makes it look like you put effort into it, and
it just looks nicer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next, and this is related to the next question from Anonymous. Ooh, we have a few anonymous questions here. What little details that are often overlooked make a freestyle stand out, like presentation, clothing, disc color, and we already talked a little bit about that. And just another example is if you come out onto the field and you have 2 green discs, a blue disc, 1 black disc, and a white disc. I don't know.
Unless there's some kind of theme. Unless you got a tie-dye shirt with all those colors.
It isn't going to look quite right. Have all the discs the same color?
Yeah, I mean, if you got holes in your shirt, you kind of look like, you just, like it was laundry day and you got your, last shirt on.
And of course, you can have multiple colors, but there should be a reason for it. Of course, if you have like a red, white, and blue, and you're doing Born in the USA as your song or something, everyone would get it. Have an American flag or something on your shirt. Or if you just want to wear blue and then you have a blue and white because you think it's nice to have a white disc that offsets a little bit. Those are all nice things.
Something I wanted to add to that is actually like the way that your dog looks in, certain colors. And one of the questions later actually talks about the appearance of the dog. But, with Sora, she's black. So I noticed, and I tend to wear a lot of black. And when I was watching videos back, I noticed that, a dog with a lot of black on her kind of got lost on me when I'm wearing black. So I tried wearing more bright colors with her. And then when I would watch the video, it was much easier to see what Sora was doing. So last couple of years, I've started to break out of my, black wardrobe and go with some more colors just so that she shows up better, because sometimes your dog might get washed out. So that's just a consideration. If you have a white dog, maybe don't wear a white shirt. I mean, I know a lot of dog folks don't want to wear white anyway, since it shows the paw prints. But if you have a white dog, maybe wear a colored shirt or a dark shirt, something to, contrast with your dog so you can really see him well.
Yes. And one time I had a routine and I came off the field, or it was later in the day, and one of the judges came up to me and said, "Hey, I want to mention something to you." And of course, any judge says, "I want to talk to you," you always want to listen. So he comes up to me, and he's a good friend of mine also, and he said, "When you played with the Zin, you used these lime colored discs." And he said it was so awesome because the discs were so easy to see, and they stood out. And because I do a lot of intricate things with my throws and I do a lot of fancy throws, he said I was able to see exactly what you were doing and appreciate it much more than a lot of times in the past I'd use black discs and things like that. And I try to use a little bit more bright colors. And it's not because the lime green went with anything. It was just because they stood out so well.
Yeah, it looked good. Yeah, I mean, we use lime with Sora in pairs, partially because it matches the shirt, but also for that reason, it really stands out. And she's a dark dog, so it really contrasts her color. The other thing I wanted to add to that is don't just pick the color just because it looks good. I've heard complaints that the little black discs that I use with Flare are hard to see, or black discs in general are hard to see. And all of my photographers out there, are the first ones to say, quit using your black discs. We can't see them. But if that's the color that your dog catches, you kind of have to work around that. Flare, who I'd like to use pink with, but she's decided that black is her color and that's what she can see and that's what she likes. So even though that's not, ideal for everybody watching, that is her best color. So I try to work with that. Luckily, she's pretty flashy and showy herself, so she's not going to let you miss what she's doing.
So Anonymous has another question. This could be a different
I do want to say, by the way, that Anonymous was not one of us. It was actually somebody who had several questions.
So this flows right into this perfectly. But
didn't want to take over the whole thing.
Do judges score differently based on a dog's cosmetic appearance and looks? We talked about it a little bit already, but we can continue.
Yeah. So it's kind of, we ordered the questions so they kind of go same subject.
That's corporate we. She actually did it.
Yeah, I did it. Yeah, Jeff just showed up and is getting the reading job.
I get the reading. Reading and writing.
Yeah, you get to do the reading job. So, going along with what we were just saying, I think, certain judges have in their mind like what a really good dog looks like, or maybe they're partial to certain breeds, or they like a certain look of a dog, and whether or not they're trying to be biased, I think most judges are probably not. But I think, there's kind of in the back of their head, they're like, oh, I really like that dog. And that might give that dog, the extra quarter point or 1/10 of a point that it, puts them over somebody else just because they feel like an attraction to that dog because it's kind of their type.
And it's subjective. And when
is subjective.
You watch something, if you like it more, for whatever reason, you're going to score it higher. And I judged world championships last year, and one of the judges said, I love this dog. Well, of course, you hear that a lot, but it was specifically related to this question, which is the appearance. And he said that the dog, when it moves, because it had really long fur. I actually don't remember what kind of dog it is now, but it had really long hair. And as it ran, he said it just looked like it was floating across because you kind of couldn't see its legs. And it was just amazing to watch this dog. And when it would jump, again, no legs. It was just like it was floating around out there.
Yeah.
More points. And it just happens. Yeah. And maybe if you put a little bandana on your dog with a little color coordination, which I believe is legal in all the organizations.
Yeah.
That might help. Those little kinds of details. Or the disc, have it so that the dog's color versus the disc color is a good contrast.
Yeah.
Your shirt.
Well, so, I was going to say, like, some people maybe like the fur. I've heard the opposite, where people like to see the shorter hair dogs so that they can see the muscle. They can see the weight of the dog better. I think a lot of dogs that are fluffier, it's hard to tell their weight. And I will say, I think a lot of judges, the dogs that are more on the overweight side don't get scored as high. One, because they're probably not doing their full potential of athleticism that they can do. And other dogs are probably outperforming them, ones that are fitter or better shape. But, dogs that have a lot of fur, you can't really tell that. And so I remember Sketch early on. I mean, he had so much hair, but he looked like a block, and so I trimmed a little bit of his hair so that he kind of had a little bit of a weight, not like a crazy trim, but just a little bit of a shape to his tuck. So you could actually see that there was a little bit of a tuck there, just to show people, look, he's actually really in great shape. He's just very fluffy, and he truly was in great shape, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Everybody says that. Look, everybody says, "Oh, my dog's not fat. They're just, whatever." And
they're just big bags.
Yeah, no. I promise, Sketch was actually in really good shape. But yeah, so I think that does make a little bit of a difference.
Another freestyle question. Anonymous wants to know, what do you think of pausing after a big move like a dog catch versus flowing right into the next thing?
You go first. I've been answering first on a lot of these.
In my opinion, I don't like the pauses generally. I know most people tend to do a lot of that. I don't like to. If you watch my freestyle, I tend to even when I do a dog catch, I do the dog catch and boom, I'm putting the dog down all in the same motion. I try to make it as fluid as possible. So whenever I'm doing my freestyle, my idea is like everything just keeps flowing. It doesn't stop. It's just even when I do something that requires a stop, I try to just continue right into the next thing. With that said, something like, in particular, the Purina IDC, it is a good idea to show some show something to the
Yeah,
crowd.
take an opportunity to pause and kind of connect with the crowd, because that is, I believe, the only organization where it is part of your score,
Yeah,
the
right,
crowd appeal.
right. So I certainly, whenever I do my dog catches, I'll wave, I'll pump my fist, do something like that. After a really good throw, I might even yell something out to the crowd. Did you see that? You know, whatever. I will do that usually 2 or 3 times during the round, and none of it's choreographed for me. When I do it at the IDC, for me personally, it's whenever all the energy is hitting me, I just let it out. And that's what happens. You know, I just do something, and I try to allow myself to do it. Whereas with the more traditional organizations, I don't really push myself to do that kind of overt kind of stuff, to go out there and really make a point of it. Every once in a while, I might say something, especially if I'm close enough to the judges that they can hear. You know, if it's something clever or something fun, a certain type of throw or something like that, like a really difficult left-handed. I'll be like, "Did you see that was left-handed?" or whatever. I don't know. I'll just say something, but not a lot. I like the flow.
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit, I'm in the same boat, but a little bit on the other side, where I think it's okay to add some pauses. I think it should be pretty minimal as far as like the occurrences, so maybe once or twice during the routine max. And I think where I like to see it is maybe like the routine's going well and you have kind of like a dog catch. It's not at the very end, but like 2/3 of the way through, and it's just like a second that you just kind of catch your breath, and it starts sinking in that the round's going really well, and you kind of can feel that energy. um, I do think it's okay to choreograph it in there, but it, like I said, definitely not more than twice. Once is good. Most common thing that you see it on is like a dog catch. But if you're going to do that, I think you need to take the pause after some kind of really big move or a really good team move. Otherwise, it's like, okay, if you just throw like a little backhand and it's kind of a, wimpy thing, you don't really want to pause on that, because whatever you're pausing on sort of sinks into everybody watching. So if it was something like huge, like a really cool high level difficulty move, then it's like, okay, that was worth the extra second to breathe on it, because everybody's like, whoa, they just hit that kind of thing. But if it was just kind of a weaker move, you don't want to emphasize it. Whatever you're pausing on, you're giving more emphasis to it. So make sure it's something really cool.
Yeah, and I think a couple things I want to add to it is if the delay is happening because you're struggling doing it, I don't like that. Like seeing people set up for
No, which
a
I don't think is what this question
no,
is,
but
but
I'm
yeah.
just pointing it out. If you're setting up for a foot stall, which I've seen so many times where it's like 15 seconds later they're still trying to do it, that's just a big downer for me. Don't do the foot stall, in my opinion, if it takes forever.
Right.
But stalls are a big thing, where if you're going to do a stall, you want to have that little delay just to show what you're doing. For example, if you did some kind of move where you threw the disc up in the air and the dog jumped, caught the disc, landed on your leg where you had your leg up, and they're stalling on your leg, you want to stop. You want to, in that case. And as a judge, I'd want to see that too. I want to see you stop and just freeze and show, look, we just stop, no movement, and then boom, you go on. And there you're doing it to show, look, we can stop completely.
Well, and so there's things that you can do with that too. So even if the dog stopped, then you can add some kind of movement that it's not like such a pause. So like, for example, so Torch used to do something where he would jump into my arm, stall on my chest, and then I would toss another one off. But I wanted to make it a stall, not just a continuous vault. And so I had him jump up and do the chest stall, and I would actually twirl the disc in my hands and then toss it off. So the pause was like the tension was brought then to me doing something flashy with the disc and then throwing it. So you can sort of use those pause moments to add something like that, add like a different emphasis to show something there. But yeah, I mean, you don't want to just like stop the routine. I mean, anything that you do that's kind of slower or takes longer to set up, do it as the very first thing or do it at the very end. Like, you don't want to stop flow in the middle of your routine. And the other thing, just to think about too, is, music is a potential option here too. Like, if you have a song that sort of pauses and does that, and you choreograph it with the music, then that could actually be a really good way to incorporate that, if that's something that you want to do.
Yeah, if you're good enough to be able to do that, a minute and a half through your routine,
very difficult, and then hope it all.
And then not have any errors on your music being prepared, or anything.
Sora's had a couple years of music where every sequence, actually the last like 3 or 4 years, she had every sequence coordinated to the song. But I didn't have any strong pause point like that. So if it didn't work, like if it didn't match exactly the music for whatever reason, it wasn't like super obvious.
So Amy wants to know, this is a great question for you. Do you have tips on working on movement as a team? That is great for you, because you do that really well. You probably do that better than anyone who's ever played the sport. So
I don't know about that, but
well, now you do.
Yeah, I think I think one of the hardest parts of doing freestyle is the movement on the human's part, because a lot of us get into this because of the dogs, and then we start having to become, like an athlete. And even if you were an athlete, maybe you weren't like a dancer or something, or a gymnast, or able to do some of those moves. So, I think something to look at is working at your own physical fitness and mobility outside of the sport is helpful for disc dogging, but and it will give you more options for what to do in your routine with your dog, because if you don't have a lot of skills yourself, you're not able to incorporate those when you bring the dog in, right? So I would look at that. But something else is that I always like to watch how the dog's moving and see how you can complement their movement. So if they're moving in one direction, maybe you're either moving the opposite direction to kind of contrast them, or you can complement them in the same way. And you can use both to make sequences look really different, depending on what moves you want to use. There's kind of countless options. A lot of times, I'll be doing trying to put together a sequence, and I'm thinking, okay, do I want to turn clockwise or counterclockwise here? Like, which is going to look better? And sometimes that can make all the difference. Or even just pivoting and stepping, half step away from the dog, that can also make all of the difference. I think there's a lot of people that, when they first start freestyle, they're kind of like a tree. They don't really realize that they can just turn. Like, very simple. I mean, pretty much everybody out there can spin, and everybody out there can pivot. So, I mean, you can really get away with a lot just doing those things.
Yeah, that's not running or anything like that. But what I was going to add to it is, when you have to go pick up discs, don't lollygag around picking up discs.
Sure. Well, practice it too.
Well, that's what I'm getting to. Yeah. Is when you are practicing, especially when you go get your discs, you run to them, do as best as you possibly can, move as quickly as you possibly can, and that's just going to make your routine look better, because first of all, it's going to make your disc management better, but that's also a movement. It's going to force you into different parts of the field, even if you don't have it planned to move around the field. If you're going to move with a purpose to pick up your discs, that is going to put you in a different place on the field quickly and allow you to get more throws in and all that kind of stuff.
It makes everything a lot easier if you can pick up the discs faster.
Yep.
And then I wanted to add one more thing, just about movement and my kind of theory on putting together sequences with movement. So I think there's generally 2 kinds of movements. There's like circular or curved movement, and then there's more linear movement. So like a zigzag would be a linear movement, and around the world would be circular. But then you also see things like a rebound. That would be a circular movement. Whereas like just a regular straight back vault, that's a straight movement. A flip dog catch is a circular movement,
yeah,
right?
One of the ways I like to start my around the world is with a reverse vault.
Yep. Because then it continues
to get them
the circle.
Spinning, and it just... and even if you do like almost like figure 8 kind of motions and things like that, it
right.
looks
and
pretty.
Figure 8 is what I would consider like a circular, that falls
absolutely
under circular motion. So when I'm putting together a routine, what I found is that generally lines, like linear goes into linear movement, Circular movement goes into circular movement really well. And then circular goes into linear really well, but linear does not really go into circular very well. So that transition point between getting, your linear moves back into circles is a little bit more tricky. So when you do things like that, so for example, like just a flip into a leg vault typically looks really nice because the flip's a circular movement, the leg vault is a straight movement. Whereas if you swapped those around and did a leg vault into the flip, it doesn't really work as well because the leg vault doesn't set up the flip like the flip sets up the leg vault. So the flips, the dog turns into circular motion. They're looking back towards you. They're actually set up for the leg vault. Whereas if you reverse the tricks, your leg vault, your dog lands, they're facing away from you. And hey, they land facing away from you. And then they have to reset to get back into that circular motion again. They have to turn back towards you. And so there's a little bit of a disconnect. So that's just kind of a general rule to keep in mind.
Yeah, and same idea with a reverse vault. That's a great way to start some other linear thing like a flip,
right.
a vault or a back vault or anything
right.
like that. It works real well with it. Amy Olvit wants to know what ideas on unlocking the creative side of freestyle. What is our process inspiration when you create a new move or throw? I will do the part with the throw, at least that portion for me, because I get a lot of inspiration whenever I'm coming up with throws. And the way I do it is I just take some discs and I walk out into the middle of the park, into the field, or even at the house if I'm in the family room working on it, wherever. And I just stand there and I start looking at the discs and looking at my hands. And I try to figure out what can I do with this thing that I've never seen before. Can I hold it some odd way? And I've tried tens of thousands of different things. I try every possible combination of everything, and I try it until I decide it's not going to work or it is going to work. I try throwing it weird ways. I try doing stuff with 2 discs. Then I try doing stuff with 3 discs. And then I just work on it with no preconceived notions in my mind, just the discs and what can I do with this that I haven't seen before. So I'm not going to be repeating anything I've seen anyone else do. I'm trying to come up with something completely new. Maybe the grip is the same as that people have done, but how am I going to throw the disc differently? How am I going to do a different type of airbrush, with this hand versus that hand, or throw it under this leg or behind my back, or how am I going to throw this? I want to do a 20-yard throw. How can I do that? I've never seen. What have I not seen before? Can I do an overhand grip behind my back? I mean, crazy things like that. Everything I could ever.
Have you tried that?
Yes.
How close were you to getting that?
Not good enough.
Man, I tried it. That's a struggle. I mean, you have long arms. So
yeah,
I thought maybe you could get that.
But those are the things I do. Is with the throwing portion of it, I think that's pretty good advice. Just don't be thinking about anything else you've seen or done. Just go out there and try to just figure something out. Just get the discs in your hand and just start doing stuff. Just don't even hardly think about it. Just try to make things happen. So what do you think about inspiration in freestyle moves, things like that?
Yeah, so I think I'm a little bit different, whereas like I like to watch videos and sort of get ideas and inspiration. I tend to watch teams that have a similar dog to the dog that I'm trying to build their freestyle for, because I think that's more helpful than trying to if I'm gonna try to build a routine with a dog like Link, who's big and tall and lanky and silly, I'm not gonna go watch somebody who's playing a routine like Flair's with their 20-pound little Papillon border collie that's bouncing around like a little bouncy ball. So I try to watch teams that I think have a similar dog or a routine that I think would be fitting, and sort of get ideas from there. That's one way. I also think it's fun to just go out and play with the dogs and see what happens. I know that's sometimes not for everybody because it's hard to know what to do if you have no plan. Sometimes that could just be fun. I also look at just the dog themselves and what do they do in their daily life, and is that something that could be good, like the way that Link vaults off of the couch from couch to couch, and think, how can I use that sort of movement? I mean, that one's like an easy, like, yes, he can vault, but I'm trying to think of a good
I'll
example
give you an
here.
example of actually
Yeah.
what same type of thing. When we got Zen, uh, we were working a lot on her core strength, so we were having her stand on things, and then it just became something she liked doing. So she started balancing and all kinds of things. So I actually had a number of stalls in my routine, which I don't really do. If you see me play, I don't hardly ever do any kind of stalls, really, but I did them with her.
Yeah, because she liked them.
She
That's
liked
the
them.
other thing is like I pick up on something that the dog likes. If they really like to flip, then I'm going to try to see how can I do a unique style flip or something different with a flip that could be really unique to them. Um, yeah, I know that Mona mentioned like she has her dog that starts the dog's name is Haribo, and the dog starts the routine with the legs are like spread out like frog style, and then the dog crawls forward. And she said her dog does that all the time at home, just because she does that because she's silly. And she said, so I put it on cue, and then I incorporated it into our disc routine. So any little funny things like that. Link loves to roll over, so I'm still trying to figure out how I can like incorporate some rolling into Link's routine. I haven't figured it out. We've messed around with it. I haven't quite figured out how I'm going to do it yet, but it's on my list to figure out what can I do with him rolling over, because he just loves to do it.
Yes, if you could capture something, I know our original frisbee instructor, Tony Crumley, said that for his back stall, he got home, his dog came out, and he went to pick something up or something like that, and the dog jumped on his back. And he never taught it or anything, and immediately just started praising, and he immediately had a back stall.
That's so awesome. That's so funny.
Didn't have to teach it.
It's like that dog was meant to be a frisbee dog. One more thing I'm going to add on that is that like a lot of times I try to think of like what is the type of element that I'm going to do, and then think of a variation on that. Like if I don't have anything in my mind and I'm trying to come up with something, I might start with, okay, I'm looking for a reverse vault. How can I make a reverse vault more unique? Maybe I can throw it upside down. Maybe I can brush it. Maybe I can throw it behind my back. Those sorts of things. Yes. And add on something additionally to that, whether it's your grip or maybe it's a different release around your body in some way. So that's a good starting point. If you're like, okay, I don't even know where to start, is think of your dog's strongest element type move, whether it's, like a long throw or an over or a dog catch, and then try to build something on that.
And that kind of leads in a little bit to the next question by Brittany Marie. She wants to know, with so many players pushing for more complex dog tricks, higher vaults, and things like that, how can we maintain or reestablish prioritizing dog safety while pushing for the best and most unique freestyle? And I'd like to start that one off with, do something, make yourself more exciting, add complexity with what you're doing as the human part of the team. That's what everyone should be doing. You could go out and practice that without even having the dog. Work on the cool throws like you were just talking about.
And the nice thing is
better, more interesting throw instead of just a regular flip? What else can I do? Under my leg, behind my back, brush it, upside down.
The nice thing about that too is that like we all know our dogs are better than us, so they pick it up a lot quicker than we do, and they don't have to practice a lot of these things 100 times. Yep. We have to practice these things 100 times. So if it's something that you're doing that's more difficult on your part, you could do the repetitions 100 times.
Yes,
and then
exactly.
You don't have to repeat it with the dog over and over until their like eyes are rolling into the back of their head being like, really? I got it. Do we have to do it again? Right. So that's one advantage of doing it that way. I did want to say, I think this might be my favorite question on the list. Just because I think about this all the time with, the sport is just evolving and only getting better and better and better. So, I really appreciate Brittany asking this question, because I think it's something that it should be on everybody's mind that we're playing the sport, especially the people that are really pushing the sport to another level and doing moves that people haven't seen and trying harder and harder moves. The sport's only getting more and more competitive, and this absolutely has to be at the forefront of our minds, the safety of the dogs. Otherwise, we aren't going to have a sport to play.
And if you can't do that, your part of it, the throw, absolutely perfect, you shouldn't be doing it with the dog. So as far as I'm concerned, there should be no consideration that something could be unsafe, because you should have gone out there and done it so many times yourself, by yourself, that when you do it with your dog, it's perfect.
Well, and the other thought too is that the whole training process, at no point in the training process should the trick be unsafe. When you're training something, so like for example, vaults could be dangerous. You as the handler, you need to make sure that your vault throw is really consistent before you
Uh-huh.
even incorporate the dog. And then once you have your throw down, you should teach the dog the vaulting skills outside of you leaning over and doing the throw. They need to learn the skill of vault first, like off of a table or something, so that they're comfortable, and then slowly piece those things together so that it's never at any point unsafe. Now of course we can all say, oh, shit happens, right? But I think yes, that's inevitable, right? It's unsafe to drive a car if you look at it that way. But I think we should do everything in our controllable power to try to make things as safe for the dog as possible. And so by working slowly and doing foundations on your side and the dog side, that really helps to make things safer. You were saying, how can we push the level of the sport to without risking the dogs, and you were saying throwing. I think that's a really great answer. I have another one, which is movement and routine and unique choreography. I think a lot of things in our sport have been done before, and a lot of the things that are left to do in competitions are things that maybe somebody can go out and they can try it 10 times and hit it on video, and that's great. And maybe some of those things are like a once in a lifetime you hit it, but then like 5 out of 6 times your dog might fall on their head, sort of thing, which is what I'm saying. We should be avoiding those types of tricks. But if you add movement and be creative with the choreography and the movement, and syncing your routine with the music, I think getting your routine in sync with music is something that hasn't really been explored by a lot of players, because it is challenging to do, and it could be inconsistent. But that's a really good way to add creativity and push the sport in a way that's not going to risk the dogs at all. And movement within sequences, field movement is an evolving thing, right? So before, field movement was really, okay, well, make sure you're just not staying in the middle of the field. And then it was like, okay, make sure you're hitting all 4 corners. Now it's like, you need to be zigzagging all around the whole field. Okay. But within your sequences now, I think it's becoming more of a trend to add, from the start of the sequence to the end of the sequence, to be moving across the field as you're doing the sequences. So think about those sort of things. Maybe you're having the dog back up, or they're moving around you as you're throwing the disc, those sort of things. So think about the choreography aspect too. That's a way that the sport has not evolved fully in, I think.
And if I'm working on a new trick and anything, if it just doesn't feel right, or if anything goes a little south, or the dog kind of slips a little weird or something like that, I just dump it. I don't just
Yeah.
keep working on it to try to make it work. I don't force it. As soon as something doesn't feel right, I'm just like, I just get rid of it. And maybe I'll try it again a year later, maybe with a different dog. We do this a lot in pairs. I'll just say, I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
We're just moving on to something else. I just don't
That's
like
that's
it
a
for
that's
whatever
a
reason. It doesn't
really
even
good
matter
point.
why.
And the shelving it too. Like there's a vault that I've just rediscovered with Sora that I tried to do like 4 years ago, and she just didn't do it in a way that I felt was pretty and safe and nice. And I was like, I don't think this is the best trick to do with her. And I shelved it, and it sort of came back up in my mind again, not thinking about that specific trick, but like when I'm trying to imagine doing something new, I'm like, I come up with the trick again, and I'm like, oh wait, I did something pretty similar to that before. But then I was able, with like kind of a fresh mind, to come up with some adjustments for it. Now she looks absolutely gorgeous coming out of this new vault that I have with her. So, that's something to think about too. And in 2 minutes, you don't have to have every move, because even the top teams are not doing every move out in existence. So find what is good for you, your dog, and what you can do safely from training day 1 to competition day.
So, Journey with Hope on Instagram wants to know, how do you maintain your discs when they have small dents, holes, and cracks, and all that kind
Yeah,
of
this
stuff?
goes with safety too.
Yes, it
um,
does. Well, the number one rule if it has a broken rim, it's done.
Yeah, it's done.
So that's the first rule.
Yes. You're not a Dremel guy, but
No.
I've become a Dremel girl because of Sora. She puts, like, each time we play, the disc comes back with a new mountain range in it. She pokes holes in it, and it's like the Swiss Alps is on the, outside of the disc. The rim's totally perfect, but then I've got these little mountains, and they're like, they're sharp. So I do Dremel those down, just because otherwise the discs would not last very long with Sora. And I use light discs in freestyle for what it's worth. So it's just my choice. That's what I prefer to use over a heavy disc. I know it could be probably solved better by using a heavy disc, but I just don't throw them as well, which means Sora won't catch them as well if I don't throw them right. So I use a light disc, and I Dremel them down and suck it up. And yeah, I mean, I got to throw a lot of discs away at the end of the day.
So instead of
Unfortunately.
spending the untold amount of time it would take to Dremel a whole bunch of discs, I just do it kind of the brute force method. I take them and I go against like a brick wall or something like that. Like outside my house, there's some brick areas, concrete, and I just rub those edges off onto the, just scratch them off basically, just knock the edges off. And I could do that in a few seconds for each disc, like that. And that's just to extend.
That's like caveman style.
It is. It's just to extend the life a little bit.
Yeah.
Usually once they start getting a whole bunch of holes like that, I don't want to be throwing them anyways. They're not going to fly right. I just throw them out.
Mine usually only go through the Dremel once. Did you see my mountains of discs out there? There's probably 50 discs out there that need to be Dremeled from Sora. All from Sora.
So as soon as you have a weekend open, you'll be able to do that.
Yeah, pretty much. They're sitting out there. I got them organized, so that was step one. And then, I have to keep recharging the Dremel because it's not going to last that whole stack. So, yeah, unfortunately, I don't have any good tips for you other than Dremel and, keep your discs clean, wash them after. A lot of times my discs don't last that long to even get to the washing point because I probably already thrown them away. They don't even get dirty enough because they're just destroyed from Sora. But Flair's discs have to be washed.
So Anonymous wants to know, how can I help my students stay motivated even when they are not winning right away? We both taught a lot. We did a lot of teaching, and this is a difficult one.
Yeah, it is a difficult one.
I guess it's probably the toughest question.
Well, you can't really control what others do, right? They have to choose it, but you can guide them. And as an instructor, that's what you hope to do, right? And I think I'd like to start with saying that I think this sport has some big jumps. So early on, it's not a big leap to win your first novice event most of the time. And even when you get to intermediate level freestyle, most people can put together a reasonable routine that can win fairly quick within a year or two, most of the time, not always. And it depends on where you live too. Maybe some areas have a stacked intermediate division. Our intermediate division is a bit smaller. We usually have 4 teams or less in intermediate. So, most of the time they're all going to get an award. So then once they get out of intermediate and they're into open, that's a much bigger jump, especially, certain areas of the world, the competitions can be really stacked and it can be hard to get into those qualifying spots. And then even after they qualify, you go to the finals, and finals are always stacked, right? So it's a lot bigger jumps very quickly, I feel like, as you move through your journey in the sport. And there's not a lot of stepping stones to get there. And that does make it challenging for people that need some kind of external motivation, an award achievement, like an outside achievement that they didn't just pick themselves.
And I hope number one is that you help them find that true love for the sport. And again, you can't control what people do. But what I always try to do is just be super encouraging in all aspects when I would teach, and try to just make them feel really good about themselves.
I'm sure this person's nasty to their students. No, I'm just kidding.
Make them feel like how great their dog is, of course. And,
you have to point out
too
the strengths of their dog, because I think sometimes people don't see it. They see their dog maybe miss the disc and they don't know why they need to see what the strengths are. So definitely, like you're saying.
Yep. And so and then the other big aspect of it is you just have to be a bit more honest with them if they really want to be up at the very top. Say, okay, well, what did Michael Jordan do to get up there? What did Tom Brady do to get up there?
And if you were talking to me and I was 12 again, I'd be like, who?
So what did Elisa Liu do?
Yeah, there you go. Well, now you can say that, right?
But whatever other, whoever it could be, Taylor Swift, all of these people who are at the top of their game, they put an insane amount of work in. And so encourage them to just put the same amount of work in, outwork all of the competition, and try to prove, that hard work beats talent or something like that.
I think that's actually, I would say that that's true. And I feel that to be true because I don't think I had a lot of natural talent. The other thing that I think is worth mentioning is that winning is not really a great goal because you cannot control if you win a competition or not, right? Like you can control how you do out there, but that doesn't dictate whether or not you win. You can't control what the judges score you. You can't control what in freestyle. But well, you know what? You can't even 100% control in toss and fetch either. I mean, yes, there's a lot more control theoretically. I mean, yes, but so mainly in freestyle, the subjectivity is part of it. But then also you can't control what your other competitors do. And that goes for everything. Toss and fetch. You might go out there and throw 25 in toss and fetch, but who's to stop the other guy from throwing 27 and a half, right? Yep. Like you can't control what everybody else does. You can only control how you play in the conditions you're in. So I think,
I always tell people that if you do, especially in freestyle, if you do play the way you want to play better than anybody else, you're going to get the scores. They will come. And because
it'll look good.
I'm living proof. Yeah. I am living proof because when I came out, the style that I had, which was just a lot of odd throws and things like that, it didn't catch on right away. And I just kept doing it because I wanted to push the boundaries of what we could do with the disc. And now a whole bunch of people were doing the throws and the tricks and things that I've done, which is great. And then all of the results came.
Right. No, I agree with that. Do your style the best that you can possibly do.
And it's not going to happen right away.
No, it won't. It will still take a lot of, regardless, it all will take a lot of work. But yeah, I mean.
I promise it'll pay off.
It will. Yeah, eventually. And then the other thing is I see people that do get discouraged because they do have that great round and then it still doesn't get scored well. And they feel like they went from 0 to 100 and they got scored like, 7.5 for it. And then they feel really bad. If you play this sport long enough,
that's going to happen all the time.
It will come around. And it doesn't matter who you are and how good you are. Some days you get love. Some days you get screwed. Yes. It happens. And whether it's the win, the judges, whatever, something's going to happen. Sometimes you're going to get love and you're going to get lucky. And sometimes you're going to get screwed. And maybe you didn't get what you thought you deserved. But you can't let that stop you. You have to keep going.
No,
because
exactly.
That's just how the sport goes.
Because one competition, let's say it's a 2-day competition. The first day you get 9s and you're just feeling so good about everything. And then the next day, maybe it's a different format. Maybe it's different judges. And then you go out there and you're getting 7.5s and 8s in your rounds and you felt it was about the same and you're real disappointed. And it's understandable to be disappointed, but just use it as motivation to get better and just keep pushing.
Yeah.
Because it's going to happen. It happens to us all the time. It's just normal in the sport to have those things happen.
And you're never going to agree with all the scores you get anyway. And everybody doesn't agree on the scores anyway. So just throw that out the window and focus on your training and if your goal in toss and fetch, like good goals to have, get 5 catches in toss and fetch. Do your freestyle with, perfect disc management and, try to have 90% catch ratio. Those are good kinds of goals to have. Make sure all the throws are fluid. Make sure all of your throws have a lot of spin and are in the air. Did you add, like a showmanship piece to at least 5 of your moves? Those are the kinds of goals that are really good to have. Winning is a goal that you have no control over. Well, you have little, I should say, not no control, but little control over in the grand scheme of things. So keep that in mind.
So Tracy Custer wants to know, of all of the events that we have attended, played in, won, Which one meant the most to you and why? I'm going to start with this because I'm going to follow this correctly.
Well, because last time.
Well, last time you answered like 10 of them.
I'm still going to answer like 10 of them.
Okay, well, I'd like to do 10 of them, but I'm going to do one.
Okay, go.
Okay. So for me, the most important moment for me was Bon Bon 2021 Skyhounds Small Dog World Champion. Where is she? Buddy?
She's sleeping.
She's right here. Come on, buddy. Come on.
She's like, don't wake me up. I'm
this
getting
one
my
right here.
best.
And the reason being is because of how close we are. And she has a little bit of a story, which is a great story, actually. I was looking for a small dog, a micro dog type, because I didn't have a micro dog anymore to play with. So I like playing in the division. I just wanted a smaller dog. So we contacted one of my mini Aussie. She wasn't the one that bred the mini Aussie, but somehow came through her lines. But a mini Aussie we had many years ago, Toonie, which some of you, Tracy, you might remember her. One of the first times you ever saw me, Tracy, was at USDDN finals, like 2006 or something like that. And Toonie was
9.
there. No, way before that.
7?
Maybe 7.
Or 7 or 8.
Well, maybe 7. Yeah. So one of those years. And Toonie was there. She actually ended up on the podium in the Super Pro division. So we went back to those lines and contacted the breeder who started all those lines, I guess, and just said, hey, we'd be interested in a puppy. She said, well, we got a litter coming up at some point in time. We can put you on the list. So we're on a list. And she calls me back or messages me back like a month later, says, I've been thinking about this. And I got this little girl, and her name was Princess Pippa at that time. I think she was around 9 or 10 months when she first contacted me about her. It said she just doesn't fit in her breeding program because her breeding program is more about the conformation, not so much the working. Not that there's anything wrong with that or anything with her, but it's just she's looking for the dogs that aren't as crazy.
And Bonbon's like, I'm not crazy.
Bonbon had a lot of energy, and they absolutely loved Bonbon. She was keeping Bonbon to continue their lines, but she just didn't think she was going to be the right dog. She didn't have the look. She didn't have the coat. She didn't
really fit for the show world.
She didn't fit for the show world. And so she said, I wasn't even looking to find a home for her because we love her so much, but she might work out for you. So she started sending me information. I'm like, she sounds awesome. Like, she's so full of energy and everything.
Yes, and she's cute.
And she's as cute as can be.
She's cute.
And she's my little shadow. And so what happened was we kept trying to make arrangements to visit her. And this was in the spring. Well, actually, it's in the winter.
Like COVID, right?
Winter of 2021. So figure like starting in January or December even. We're trying to, in 2021, trying to get out to see her. And they're about 10 hours away. They're in Reno and we're in Southern California. We're trying to get out to see her. And the trip just kept getting canceled for one reason or the other. They got COVID one time. There was a snowstorm another time. They got sick another time. I mean, it was canceled 3 or 4 times.
The world did not want you to have this dog.
And so now it goes all the way up to March. And then finally in March, we go out to see her. And she comes home with us. And she was homesick because they truly loved her. But a good breeder puts the dogs where they should go. And she knew that Bonbon belonged in a home like ours. And for the first few weeks, Bonbon was she was very upset, wandering around the perimeter of the house, going to doors, trying to get out, all that kind of stuff. And then finally, she started to, she actually she connected with me like really fast. But it was just, I don't know. She was just upset. You know what I mean? Just sad.
She was sad.
She was sad. And then
I know. I remember you were like, I don't know if we can keep her. She really doesn't want to be here.
Because the breeder said, of course, if anything, if she can't, if it just doesn't work out, of course, just bring her right back. And absolutely, we would have. But one day, I just went out into the yard with her, and I hadn't been playing with her. Like, I wasn't about to bring her home already stressed out and then start throwing Frisbees around. So this was a few weeks before she even saw any toys or anything. And I'm sitting outside with her, just sitting out, just trying to have some alone time with her. The other dog's right locked inside. And I'm just sitting in the yard, just petting her and talking to her. And then she seems real interested, like she's real excited. And I happened to there was a disc laying by or something. Maybe I took it with me thinking maybe. And I rolled the disc and she looked at it and she was like, what was that? She
And
slowly.
she did know toys. It wasn't
knew
like she
toys.
never had toys before.
She walked to it and looked at it and looked at me, and she's like, "What is going on here?" And I took the frisbee and put it away. And then I went out a few days later, did it again. This time she ran and grabbed it and brought it back to me. And then after, I probably took about a month to build her up from that point to the point where she is now, basically, just to get her all into it. She's totally attached to me. I'm totally attached to her. She follows me everywhere. She's like my little
she's
shadow.
really attached to you.
And I absolutely love her to pieces. And that year, less than 6 months later, she goes into the AWI, wins the Small Dog World Championship, and then wins a total of 5 World Championships that year, which is absolutely bonkers. And or was it more than? I don't even know. Well, I think it was 5.
It was a lot.
It was a lot. And
she won stuff at Skyhounds.
She won Skyhounds, all kinds of things there, and just super, super proud of her. But that first one at AWI, because I wanted it so bad for her, it's like just I wanted Bon Bon to be able to do that because she deserved it. And when I was standing up on her, I was holding her like way above my head. I was holding her real like kind of fun because she's so
tiny.
little. And but I was just so happy. And I think it was Jackie Sheets doing the pictures, and she said, "You look so proud." And I'm like, that's the word. I was proud. So that's my story.
Bunny.
That's my story. Thanks for asking me, Tracy. By the way, this is my favorite question. I'd love to give 10 more.
So I think that, well, you told the whole Bon Bon origin story.
I gave the Bon Bon origin story.
I think I'll extend my time.
Oh, no, even more?
We're going to get more than... We'll do more than I did last time. No, that you guys didn't get to see because it was lost into the black hole of...
Yeah. The bit bucket, we call it.
Yeah. The what?
Bit bucket.
The bit bucket?
Yeah.
What is that?
Whenever something on the internet or whatever just disappears, it goes into the bit bucket.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Bit bucket. Okay, yeah. I got it. I was thinking bit like a comedy sketch bit type thing, not computer bit. Yeah, so I actually think this is the hardest question of all of them because I obviously can't just choose one. And so it's really hard for me to not say Torch 2011 Skyhounds World Championship. Just a little background on how that happened. I've told this story a million times. I don't even think I've told it on the podcast. We'll probably tell the whole story on a separate episode. But basically, long story short of that event, I was 17 years old, and Torch was supposed to be Dave's dog, my stepdad. And we ended up at an earlier competition, UFO World Finals 2010, we had a throw off for Torch where we both played with Torch and threw to like the 10-yard line. And whoever got more points got to have freestyle rights with Torch. Well, I mean, wouldn't it have been funny had Dave won? What kind of freestyle would Dave have done? We suspect it might be like Don Blewett. But we don't know because Dave has yet to do freestyle. But anyway, so I obviously won the throw off with Torch. It was pretty funny. And then so I was, playing with Torch and working on his freestyle and, leading up to Skyhounds. He was not qualified because I just had Sketch and Flash qualified, and I didn't even know if I was going to play him last chance. I almost scratched him in the last 2 weeks because I'm like, oh, I don't know if we're ready. Maybe playing 3 dogs will be too much. I don't know. Anyway, I went through, played with him. He qualified in the last qualifying position off a tiebreaker. Couldn't have gotten more close to not qualifying. Somehow he managed to qualify, which I was stunned. I was already stunned that he made the cut from the last chance qualifier. Then he just barely qualified. I mean, I didn't even bring enough discs for him to play the whole weekend. I had no idea. He was qualified in toss and fetch with Dave, actually, which is the only reason Torch came along on the trip. And I was like, well, if he's coming along, I'll put together a freestyle. And so it was like, he barely qualified, and then the next day it was like, oh, this is cool, and I'll kind of use him to practice my toss and fetch throws, because at the time I was really nervous about toss and fetch. The prior year I had foot faulted twice. That's in a whole other episode you guys can check out, the foot fault story. But I was very nervous about toss and fetch, so Torch ended up being my first dog to go in the order. And I'm like, well, I can use him as my practice dog for toss and fetch for Sketch and Flash, who were older and we had, more developed routines. While Torch ended up getting a 25 and a half toss and fetch. He was ridiculous because I was throwing short, a little bit short. But if you know Torch launches. One of the judges swears that Torch was over the easy ups on multiple of his catches. I don't know the truth to that, but he jumped freaking high. And he landed right in that 5-point zone, and there was no question about whether there was air or not. And so we just kind of had this day, and I was stunned that going into the final round, we were in first place by like 3.5 points. And I was like nervous. I'm 17, never been in that position before, and definitely never been in anything with Torch. I was like, oh God, I wish it was Sketch. Like, for all I know, like, Torch is a puppy. He can poop on the field for all I know. I mean, I didn't know he's a baby. Like, he was 20 months old. So, he was just over 1.5 years, like, just had started doing some, freestyle tricks. And it was crazy. Torch just held it together. At the time I thought it was a fluke, and it was really just a sign of more things to come. Torch was always special, and he continued on that streak. And I can't go on with this question without mentioning the time that Torch won AWI, where it just felt like everything aligned, and we had like some of our best freestyle rounds ever with one of the hardest routines I've ever put together. We nailed the toss and fetch. Like, it was just our day, and we kind of blew it out of the water. And for me, that really stands out because AWI World Championship was the first one I attended as a kid, and what really gave me the inspiration and motivation for the sport to win was in 2007 at AWI World Championship. You were there.
I think the year before also.
Yes, you were
maybe
there.
The year before that.
You were there before me, but 2007, I know you were there too, because we could see you in the video of they had bleachers to watch the finals. And so I sat in the bleachers and I watched Yoshihiro Ishida and Rusty win the 2007 AWI World Championship for the second time. And that just blew my mind. I thought that was so cool. Everything he did. I mean, I think for like years with Sketch, I had like some kind of copied intro, like very similar, very inspired by, routine from him. But
I have a funny little story about that event.
Yeah.
I was in the audience there, and one of the competitors threw a disc into the audience, and I got pretty good hands, so I just reached my hand up and caught it. I was zooming by, and I'm sitting there. The place was packed, and I'm like, "Here, you want it?" It was like someone with a kid or something like that. They're like, "No, don't you want to keep it?" I said, "This is my competitor. I don't want this disc."
Did you?
Yeah, I don't remember who it was,
I
though.
don't even know this
I'm
story.
sure
That's
it's
so
someone
funny.
who's not competing anymore. I think it was one of the Japanese teams.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
think any of those teams, as far as I can remember, are competing now, but I could be wrong. Most of them are not. It's just been a long time.
There's a couple that are still playing, but I don't think they've come over the U.S. recently, if I remember correctly. I can't think. I'm like trying to think of who all came back then. But anyway, another one, Torch 2017 AWI. Sorry to throw salt in the wound. It was, that one stands out to me because I beat you in Muse.
That's all right. I'll need some of this to continue on that conversation.
Jeff wants a wine break.
No, it's
because
nobody better to lose to.
Well, okay. So the whole year, Jeff and Muse were mopping the floor with us. I thought there was no way we were going to beat him. Going to the final round, he's ahead. And Torch had a dropless round, and it ended up being really close, and Torch won. So that was like just kind of crazy for me. You returned the favor a few years later with Sora. You and Muse came from behind and threw Sora and me down to second. So you returned the favor a few years later.
True.
That's the fun of competition. But the other one that I want to mention, like I said, Tracy, this is like the hardest question. This is the hardest question. Okay. So the other one is,
I can do 50 also. I mean,
I've done 3. This is the other one. It should be by dog.
I've had more dogs.
Okay. So, well, I've had more dogs, less champions. That's what happens when you pull Volt out of the shelter. No, and don't.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you just adopt sight unseen. So anyway, The other one is Sora 2024 AWI World Champion. That to me was really special because, when I was a kid, it was like 15, I was told that with sketch, he wasn't really like by a seminar instructor that he wasn't really worth competing with or trying as hard with because he didn't jump. It didn't really matter that he caught everything because he did. By the way, he was like one of the best catching dogs in our sport, and excellent drive, and he was fast, and he didn't jump 6 feet in the air, no, but he was awesome. He caught everything. But this seminar instructor told me that he wasn't really worth pursuing a competition with because he didn't jump, and I almost quit the sport over that. And
Yeah, well, watch who you get go to seminars for.
Yeah. Take advice from people that give you good advice, but when somebody tells you to quit, that's probably, I think in most cases, not good advice. And looking back at it now, obviously I see how horrible of advice it was, and I'm like thinking I had the gold mine with sketch. I mean, gosh, couldn't have asked for a better dog.
Awesome dog.
Yeah, couldn't he have been any better?
I don't even care about his frisbee playing.
Oh, he's a good boy.
So
well,
awesome.
That too. That's the other thing.
God,
even outside of his
dog.
frisbee playing, he was just awesome, sweet boy.
Absolutely love him.
Yeah, so I almost quit the sport over that, and I remember going to a competition, and it was out of town, and I remember just like crying in the hotel room one morning, and I'm like, I don't even want to go. Like, sketch isn't worth competing with, right? And my mom's like, listen, you can quit the sport, that's fine. But like, don't let that be the reason that you quit the sport. Like, quit for some other reason. Like, find a better reason to quit. That's not a good reason to quit, though. You know.
Find a hobby that makes money.
Yeah, right. Go do disc golf when you can actually get paid to do this. Yeah. Don't quit because somebody told you your dog's not good enough. Especially when your dog's really freaking good. But anyway, so shocker, I didn't quit the sport. Spoiler. When I got Sora, it was very much similar to sketch in a lot of ways. And there's a lot of ways that she plays like sketch. And I believe that the reason I'm so successful with Sora is because I figured out how to play with sketch and how to show sketch's best qualities. And with that knowledge, I was able to, I feel, bring Sora to her greatest potential that she could be. And that's always my goal with all of my dogs, is to bring them to their greatest potential, whether that's just to qualify for a world championship or step on the field and just even play or win a world championship, whatever it is. I just want to bring them to their potential.
That is so true. That is always my goal too. I want my dog to be up on that podium if possible. I want people to see my dog and how awesome it is, and how I could send videos of the rounds to like my family and look how awesome my dog is and stuff like that, and all the people at work that see it. That is what drives me. It's not any accolades that come to me are just because of the dogs, and I give all of the credit to them. I might work my ass off, but the dogs are the special part of the equation, and they're the ones that deserve all the credit. So
back to why the 2024 AWI was really special with Sora, because she was already multiple-time world champion, UFO, and also toss and fetch and pairs and like all this other stuff. And she had won like a Skyhounds freestyle disc dogathon. So it wasn't like she'd never won anything. But that particular, for me, I felt like everything came full circle because my childhood dream of like winning with sketch that came to me in 2007 and I was never able to do, not because he wasn't good enough, but because I could never get my like mental game together to throw for sketch the way I needed to get, I didn't have the training skills to train the toss and fetch return and the handoff and all that stuff. I didn't know. I mean, it was my first dog and I was a kid, and, the training information that's out there now is not what it was back then. And, speaking of which, check out my online courses at flyingcanines.com. Oh, threw an ad in there. No, I'm just kidding.
No, she's not.
I'm not kidding. Go check out the courses. I took all of Jeff's training material and posted it online for you to buy. No. So, Gotta make money off this podcast somehow, because I think, well, actually, we got a raise last time. I think we got over $2
That's nice.
payout from our viewers, and it's probably because we did the borrowed dog rant.
Yeah,
I think that's why.
We should do some more rants.
Let's do some, but more controversial.
If you want to learn, I always tell you guys this: if you want to learn, you should learn from the best.
Okay, so back to let me say why that that 2024 AWI, it was like the childhood dream comes true. And for me, Sora and Sketch had a lot in common. Sketch also really just loves Sora. And not that Sora gets more air than Sketch does, but she's certainly not considered a big jumping dog, really, by any means. And so to be able to win AWI with her was really special, because AWI was kind of always described to me as sort of, they favor the jumping dogs because Ashley Whippet was one of the biggest jumping dogs of them all, and that's one of the beauties that you can watch in Frisbee is a dog make a beautiful jump to catch a disc, and it is a spectacular thing, but it's not the only thing. And UFO, she had won before, but UFO has kind of been known to be a little bit more lax on those types of things. They're not looking for one specific type of dog. They look for different things. Winning AWI with Sora was like coming full circle on the childhood dream, back from watching in the bleachers back in 2007, and then finally like coming through with Sora and achieving what I had first set out to accomplish with Sketch, and I never was able to do just because of my own shortcomings. And, I was able to put it together with Sora, and we were able to do it. And, Sketch really loved Sora too. I feel like they have a lot in common. They've got a lot of similarities. And, Sora is just a really awesome dog as well. What's kind of interesting is that looking back, like, Yoshihiro Shida and Rusty were actually some inspiration for some of Sora's routine as well, because I feel like they're fairly similar dogs. A lot of their strengths are pretty similar. So that was one of the inspiration dogs that I used for making some of Sora's tricks and routines. So yeah, the whole thing really kind of came full circle. And Sora's just been kind of on a roll since. And yeah, sorry, Tracy, you gave me the most difficult question, so it's really hard to just talk about one.
It was the best question, but I wanted to talk about the AWI in those mid-2000s. Those events were amazing. For anyone who was able to be there to see those, I watched it, and it was like watching superheroes to me. And it was also like it seemed unattainable or something. It was just... it did. No, it did. Like what they were doing, you're like, I can't even imagine how could they have possibly trained a dog to do that, and then that throw. How did they even do that? It was just like if I watched like some of those, like they're great figure skaters and Lisa Liu and or Michael Jordan or Mario Lemieux or Tom Brady. You watch the things that they do, and you think it's not even possible. How can they be that good? And those events did that to me. I was in awe. I was completely awestruck, amazed, floored by what I was seeing. And I guess right around then is whenever I decided that's what I was going to be doing.
Yeah, I think a lot of the top players in our sport really treat disc dogging like an Olympic event in a lot of ways. We kind of eat, breathe, sleep disc dogging. That's what it's all about. And drink if you're Jeff.
Yeah. All right, so the next question is from Brittany Marie, and she has another great one. You talked about what state of mind you guys like to be in while competing, but do you do any work outside of practice or competitions to help build your mental fortitude? What does that look like?
That's a good question.
It is.
Yeah, I think we both do things.
Yes.
Right?
Very much so.
You're looking at me like you want me to answer first.
I answered the last one first.
Okay, well, who's keeping count here?
You were earlier. I can say my part if you want.
Oh my God. Yeah, go first.
Okay. For me, the biggest thing that I do outside of competition, I guess there's two big things. One is visualization. I visualize my routines, my throwing mechanics, how my dogs are going to look, all of that stuff to absolutely no end. I've read some books about different sports, mostly actually table tennis books because was a table tennis player. So I read books, and a lot of those books are about how to win because these were written by people who are winners, and it was their dedication to it and all of the visualization. I've done some things different. One of the things, and this is in sports psychology, I don't know if it has a name or whatever, but one of the things, one of the beliefs or train of thoughts, I guess you could say, is don't visualize things going wrong. So you're always supposed to keep positive.
Mm-hmm.
I do half of that or more, but then the other half, I'm not saying that I'm like trying to think of things being bad or going completely screwed up.
Okay, you go to your first toss and fetch throw, and the first throw, like, goes in the ground or is out of bounds.
Right.
That's
right.
the type
Those
of
kinds of things. The dog brings a bit disc. It's almost all toss and fetch, by the way. The dog brings the disc back, and we have a fumbled handoff.
Right.
Well, if I don't think about any of this stuff ahead of time, how am I going to be able to do when it actually happens?
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm completely prepared for all these situations, no matter what happens. If I get right in the middle of my throw and the throw is coming out of my hand, just at the last moment, I notice the wind change. I do make adjustments. I will make an adjustment as I'm throwing, and I'll think about that, and I'll visualize it, or the feelings that I get when the wind's blowing on me and things like that, and I will adjust. Or if I see that my dog, right when I go to throw it, they slipped a little bit going around.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was
I've had that happen at a world championship. That happened with Soros, slipped a little bit going around.
And that's enough to ruin the throw.
Oh, yeah.
I mean...
Or the dog not catch up to it, even if the throw's good.
Right.
Like, anything, like, and that stuff you can't even predict. That's just stuff that happens. You can't even practice that.
No, but like you can visualize, and so I try to visualize all those things. I visualize like my arm movement for the throws, and so that's my little thing on the visualization.
Yeah, I think we mentioned I think in our couple episodes ago we talked about like Michael Phelps would like fill the goggles with water. Yes. I mean, a lot of those equivalences you can't necessarily do in disc, but some of them you could, like even the dog dropping it far away on accident. Yep. Whatever. Disc rolling past you, you got to turn. Yeah, there's some stuff that you can like simulate safely, but
so I got part 2, but I'll let you go with a little bit, and then I'll.
Oh, we'll butt in. You'll wait to interrupt. So, yeah, I do the same thing. A lot of visualization. It's funny because I actually did this early on, and I didn't even know it was a sports psychology tactic or anything like that. And then I watched like interviews of Michael Phelps talking about it, and sports psychologists talking about it. Like, oh, I've been doing that for years. So yeah, I do the same thing. I tend to do more in toss and fetch. A lot of my visualization for freestyle is just kind of like imagining what to do. Like when I'm brainstorming routine ideas, I do a lot of visualization. Mm-hmm. And then practicing toss and fetch scenarios, that's a lot of visualization too. Especially
that's a good way of putting it. Toss and fetch scenarios, like there's that is so a great description.
I will think about stuff. I'll be like, okay, this is the world finals. I'm going into the final round. Jeff's 3 points ahead of me. You know what I mean?
You already know you're done.
Hey, my only way to win this right now is if I throw down 5 into the zone and get catches, right? Every time. So those are the kind of scenarios that I put myself in, like something that might actually happen at a competition.
Yeah, I do like the toss and fetch ones in particular. That's where everything can go wrong, because in freestyle, it's just like one thing goes wrong, it's not the end of the world.
You'll probably still be good, but like toss and fetch,
one thing goes wrong,
especially if it's like toss and fetch finals.
And one thing goes wrong, it usually means 2. I always say this: if a dog has a bad miss, let's say they hit the disc, it starts rolling, it's all out of bounds, and they have to go way over there to get it and come back. Well, I count that as 2 misses because I probably got one less throw now because they just spent 10 seconds trying to get the disc, and
they're discombobulated.
And everything's
I think that happens
up.
Though in freestyle too, because it's like, okay, so one move and then you've got to reset all onto the next stuff. That's very hard to do.
It is. I guess for me, it's a lot more natural. Freestyle's always just more natural for me.
Me too.
It's a lot
but
easier.
I do think anytime you have a miss, it's more likely you're going to have a miss again in the remainder of the round, just because, like, there was a little extra focus on your hiccup. I feel like
I
unless you
get
get
that.
over it,
I get that.
and hopefully it doesn't affect anything else. But sometimes it does.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like you said, the miss could be like the disc has gone way off, and now the dog's got to run further to get it,
Right.
and you might not get your last throw, that kind of thing,
Right.
for sure.
So one of the other things that I do is a lot of that, like exercising, whether it be lifting weights or running or hiking or walking the neighborhood with the dogs, that kind of thing, just to keep myself in some kind of decent physical shape. Trying to keep my arms working, and anything that's hurting, trying to keep it in decent
Is that
shape.
mental though?
Well, when I'm doing it, I start thinking about all of the running through all of my things, running through my routine. What else am I going to do when I'm out running? It's boring. I hate doing it. I can't physically do it right now. My hip hurts too much. But when I do that, I start thinking about my routines. And the other interesting thing about it is when you do that kind of stuff when you're tired, it actually helps me, because it's when you're tired, you're running and you're exhausted. But then I'm forcing mentally for me to be thinking about my throw. That's hard to do, but that's what's going to happen whenever I'm out on the field and I'm running around with my dog and it's 100, like last
when it's
weekend.
finals days, some of these finals have 80 plus competitors, or some crazy number.
Yep.
You might not be doing your round till 3:00 in the afternoon.
And when you do it and you go out there and it's hot as heck and you just feel like you're going to melt, well, that your mentality needs to be intact and it needs to be solid. And if
wake up,
I'm getting a little bit of that when I'm doing my running and I start thinking about my routine, just go through my routine in my head while I'm running or while I'm doing hiking, whatever. That kind of thing helps. And also makes the time go by quicker, because it's just boring as heck for me to do that stuff. So I just do it because I have to. It's not because I enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, no, I do the same thing. Yeah, mental game. I don't know if there's anything else that I can think of. I mean, it's really a lot of visualization stuff.
That's like number one for me.
And a lot of like different scenarios, like the timer, like messing with the timer so that it's like not particularly perfect every time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thinking about different situations, those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we have the last question.
And this is
we've made it to the end. We've got the best question for last from our world champion, America's Got Talent winner, Mr. Adrian Stoica asks, after the competition, do you think which is better, red wine or white wine? And here's Jeff's answer: red wine.
Red wine.
Okay, specific red wine though. You have give us a is it a blend? Is it cab? Is it what is it?
That's a good question. Right after a competition, I might want a blend, maybe like a Bordeaux style blend, cab heavy, or possibly even like a Syrah or something like that, a little spiciness to get you kind of going. And a Syrah could do also kind of well, like a little more chilled. A cab doesn't do great if it's chilled, if it's too cold. But a Syrah can go a little cold and still be really good. Or a Petite Syrah, something that has a lot of flavor to it.
Yeah, that would be good too.
Or Zinfandel.
Do you have a specific wine that, do you have a celebratory wine that you like to have after? Specific wine?
Yeah, I would say the Justin Isosceles Reserve.
Yeah, we tend to have that a lot after.
Is probably the number one. You won something really good. Your dog's awesome. You're going to celebrate for them.
So I agree on the red thing, but I do have like a different option though. I think it should be white first with the sushi celebration dinner. Okay, we never get to do this because most of these world championships are out of town, and then as soon as the event's done, it's like drive, go home, hurry, go home, and make it back for work. I say, but. The norm should really be like white wine, like a Sauv Blanc, a New Zealand Sauv Blanc with sushi, and then the dessert.
Or crab cocktail, or like shrimp cocktail, or something like that.
Honestly, some kind of seafood.
Kind of seafood, cold seafood.
One of those dude, honestly, the Brittany, you know about crab in a bag. We taught you about that when you came out here for UFO finals.
It's cool, but that'll work.
You for a treat. Hey, it goes just fine with wine.
Oh, it sure does.
And it's good.
This is such a great question for us. Oh my God.
I think start with the white and have some dinner, and then for dessert pull out like a Parish cab or a Silken. My favorite's the Silken. or
That's
a
what we-
four course.
That's what we call our dessert wine.
It is like a dessert. I mean, that in
'Cause they're
of
so
itself is
good.
like a dessert. It's
They're not
so
sweet,
yummy.
but
No,
they're.
it's not a dessert wine,
This
but
one's really good.
it's a dessert because it's so delicious. You know, and why not have it with a little red
Right.
velvet cake, something like that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's really how we should be doing after competition. Dang. This is a great question.
I love this question because we need to do an episode on wine somehow.
Actually, this should be after the next competition we have. This should be the plan.
To have wine?
Yeah.
So like
with a nice dinner, every competition, every single one.
So yeah, we do have some wine stories too. Wine stories related to Frisbee. We have a lot of good stuff we could talk about with some.
Yeah,
with
we could do an episode on that, but yeah, I think verdict is red wine.
Red
if
wine.
we have to pick one, but you know, really any'll do.
But my favorite region is Paso Robles in California.
Yeah, mine is too.
and that Napa would be like probably second for us, but we also like.
I like some of the Italian wines, Adrian.
French wines. I mean, a lot of this stuff came from France, especially. So the ones we really like Cab Sauv. Our favorite wine is Cab Sauv overall. I mean, that's what was right here.
Yep. Yeah.
This is a reserve from Parrish, 2000.
That's a good one. 2020. And, one good thing that came out of 2020. That and flair.
The wines in Paso Robles were incredible in 2020. Napa
not so much.
Yeah, they had some fires, so they're a little risky. But that's a great question.
Yeah, thank you, Adrian. Thank you guys so much for asking all of these awesome questions. We really got some good ones.
Yeah, that was great. And
yeah.
We'll definitely be doing this again because it's a lot of fun to talk about things that we may not think about necessarily. There was questions I'd never even really considered so much.
These are really, this is actually a lot of fun. So hopefully we will do it again. And next time, just once and not twice. We won't have to re-record it. We can get it on a one-take Jake and not have to do it again.
This has been
the Disc Dog Pod. Thanks for watching. Thanks for asking questions, and see you next time.